Earth debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation first and foremost to my latest Patreon, Steve, but also on the level, Thomas van der Zande, Cannabear, Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, Twad Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMails24, Unamento, Iron26, Endless, Golden McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Playing Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W., Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
That was crazy, wasn't it?
That's why I'm worried about the youth in the UK.
I don't think he was talking about any youth.
They didn't look like adults to me.
Okay, if you say so. Go on, Sensual Goat.
That's an image I don't think I'll be able to forget for quite some time.
What, him waving?
Okay.
Just so brazen. Just so out, you know. Strange word. You're trying to tell him the Earth's flat, and he's trying to show off to you. He's very hostile in the end, wasn't he? To Flat Earth. You couldn't wait to skip. Bless him. He's all hard
too, didn't
until it came to a
Bloody
Paler
hell.
reference, and then he lost his shit.
I'm talking about one where they showed the clip. I seen the hand at the gun, and then I seen the clip. Is that the same one you're talking about with the lights, the disco lights?
No, there was two guys brandishing. First one just had his water pistol, and he showed what he put in his water pistol, and the other guy also showed his water pistol and what the water pistol contained, and how you might go about servicing that water pistol. Right? Well, all of that, along with quite a lot of other obscene things that the guy said, got hacked out. So I took what was about 11 minutes long, and it ended up being less than 3. I've published that, by the way. So just play it so you can...
Yeah, but can you share your screen as well?
I'll give it a go.
For Neil.
For Neil.
For me.
8 hours in bed, but still.
Chat amongst yourselves while I'm doing it.
So Central Goat, you don't feel like, well, as Nathan's doing these things, that what's going on with the youth? I guess it's all over.
Product of their environment,
There
I
were
guess.
Freemasons.
Yeah, square and compass, mate.
Oh, let's get this. I'm a
Holy
Freemason.
epilepsy, Batman.
I'm a Freemason and I have good people. How are you doing? Are you doing good?
I'm
I'm
good.
gonna come over there. You can see, can you see chicken tits, the red one?
Chicken, that's rude. She's not going to be your friend
Don't
then.
worry about it.
Too loud.
What's too loud?
Guns. They're your eardrums. I'm very sensitive.
What have very sensitive. I tell you what, I'll use that instead, yeah?
Well, at least it won't hurt my eardrums, unless you stick it through them.
Hey, you'll probably enjoy that, man. The way you will, bro.
No, what do you do, fella?
That's brilliant. What do I do? I'm a Freemason.
Freemason?
Freedom.
What degree?
Yeah, I'm a Freemason.
I can't hear you. Can you turn your music off?
No, fuck off, the girls are like that. I'm a Freemason.
What degree?
What?
What degree?
Royal Art. Do you like them?
Fourth degree.
I wanted to see what he was chilling with his tab. I was like, oh, I need to see this one. Oh, it looks cool.
Hello. Yes.
Wow. Well, is everybody awake now?
You're breaking up. Try again. Oh, I'm so glad you interrupted.
I asked if everybody was awake now.
Everyone was what now?
Is everybody awake now?
Yeah, thanks for that, Matthias. Such a worthy interruption. Yes, I think everyone's awake.
So the loud
Jesus
clanging
Christ.
sound.
I'm playing a video, Matthias. I'm running a show. What are you doing? You're just assessing how Flat Earth debate runs right in the middle of a video that's being played for you.
That was a video?
Yeah, the sound's god-awful because the guy's playing his music in the background and you can barely hear what he's saying. But you talking through it and helping, I've got to be honest. Not very long. It's got
So you're going to
60...
review a video that nobody knows what's going on. Seems logical.
Okay, thanks. You all right, fella?
No, I do lots of fun.
Yeah.
You're having a little party there?
My lodge number's 4472. It's up at Northumberland. You can tell people you're Freemason. You can't tell them what you talk about in the lodge. I'm going to show you something and I'll get in trouble. 90 degrees.
Okay, I'll do my translation. So he says, you don't get in trouble for telling people that you're a Freemason. He says, you only get in trouble if you discuss things that you've been discussing in the lodge. Then he says, I'm going to tell you something now that will get me in trouble. And he shows a 90 degree to the middle thumb, the middle knuckle handshake. Okay? That's what's happened so far. Other than him brandishing a 1911 and pulling a giant broadsword out. I'm not a Freemason. I wouldn't want to let a Freemason know I'm a Freemason when I'm not a Freemason.
They are my contact pianist, you know. I played for the London Royal Academy.
Higher up the Freemason ranks, you find out that Earth's measured flat. That's what Freemasonry are all about. Are you a higher ranking Freemason or what?
Flat?
You're not a Freemason.
You think flat Earths to do with Freemason?
Yeah, square and compass, mate.
I mean, Jesus Christ. You are not a Freemason and you know fuck all about Freemasons.
Now, you're just a low-level Freemason. They just haven't told you yet.
If you know this much about
What do you think the square and compass is for?
If you know much, you'll know what King Solomon used to do.
I'm not a Freemason.
You know how to get rid of that gin and wealth. You better start asking.
Now let's say.
There we go. That was it.
Did I hear him say something about King Solomon?
Yeah, he said then went on to say things that wouldn't make it to YouTube. So let's say no more about that. Most of it, 80% of it didn't make it to the video. It was bonkers.
What?
Absolutely bonkers.
That's the thing, that people being a bit too dumb, a bit too promiscuous, that's understandable, but that guy was just off the wall crazy.
Yeah, it was absolutely
that guy was
bonkers.
out of control, man. Waste of your time. Those other kids, however, those were great videos, man. Because they seemed interested, you know what I mean? Like they wanted to know. You can see the changes on their faces as they're understanding the information or whatever, you know, hearing the information for the first time, whatever. You can definitely see the changes, like something going off in their heads, you know. With this guy, man, it's like you literally just wasted your time. This guy
Nah,
won't
Yeah,
remember that you even.
yesterday wasn't a good day of fishing.
I don't know. You say that. You say that. I've produced at least 3 or 4 videos off the back of yesterday. One with a footballer. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't the sharpest tool in the box, but he was receptive. The other one was with that gangster guy, which was just, I thought was very funny. And there was a third one that was with an army recruit. Remember him?
Yes.
Yeah, and the football had the best response, and you cut him off. It was a tragedy, that was.
What did I do?
No, we didn't cut him off. They hung up. He held the phone. He had his friend on because he wanted Nathan to talk to his friend, and then everything just went off.
Yeah, I cut him off.
Yeah, thanks to Nathan.
Yeah, I cut him off for comedic effect. I had 2 choices. Number 1, take him up on his offer to talk to a third party via an app, via his phone, with the app on his phone. Alternatively, spin on. Job's a good one. You can go and repeat this to your friend if you choose to, but me repeating it via the app, via his phone, with his crappy PC mic, with me talking to the guy going, "You are?" and him interrupting via about, I don't know, several milliseconds of delay that would cause all sorts of audio. It would have been an absolute shit show. So much more funny to just end the conversation there. He's so enthralled with what I've told him, he wants to tell next man. But he doesn't want to tell next man, he wants me to do it for him via his phone that he's literally having a conversation with there and then. No thanks, no. That would have been awful, I promise.
That's funny because that happened to me last night. My brother calls me up with one of his friends about flat Earth. And he said he just can't reconcile how Earth can be flat. And he's a Bible believer.
Okay.
That's the problem. How can you be a Bible believer and say something stupid like, I can't reconcile how it can be flat? What are you talking about? You should be saying, I can't reconcile a ball to what the scriptures are telling me.
That was
Maybe
my question
he's
the other
listed a
day,
bit
Neil.
weirdy.
Matthias,
If Jesus
then.
is the way, the truth, and the life, and the heliocentric Christians claim to know Jesus, which is the truth, how come they don't know the truth?
Yeah, I agree because it's out there. I mean, if you don't know and you're ignorant to it, because I didn't know about it. I was Christian. Let's go back to 2014. You couldn't tell me I wasn't serving the Lord. And then all of a sudden I hear about this flat earth stuff. For 2 weeks, I berate my brother, mock him as I look into it. And then I come to a realization that we're not in a globe and everything they told me in school wasn't true, which was kind of like a smack in the face. You're going to tell me 2 + 2 = 4. And then you're going to tell me I live in a solar system and I'm a third planet from the sun, to find out that none of that is true.
No, 2 +
That
2
was
is
quite
4.
shocking.
No, 2 + 2 is definitely 4.
Well, that's my point. That works. And then they tell you that you're in a solar system. That don't work.
They try to tell you that 2 + 2 is 5, is what you intended to say.
No, I did not say that. They're teaching you 2 + 2 is 4. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's true. But then they go on to tell you live in a solar system, the third planet from the sun. So, you're going to believe them. They're teaching you. This is school. They're there to educate me.
Yes, in seriousness, I agree.
Guys, can we
there's
try
no
to say
shock
good morning to dude?
Oh, mush.
Sorry, Nathan. Sorry, bro. We have a dude here once again. He joined the voice. He said yesterday he was afraid to speak because he thought we were gonna yell at him and scream at him. Dude, nobody's gonna yell at you, man. Feel free to speak up. Good
Speak up.
morning, man. Dude claims that we're denying thousands of years of science and a whole bunch of books.
He's in a category error already.
So,
Yep.
dude, good morning, man. Nobody's gonna yell at you. It's a nice, relaxed conversation. It's a pre-show. Feel free to unmute and say hello.
Maybe he should give his definition of science.
He just unmuted. Hello, dude, man. Good morning, buddy. All right.
Your mic line opened, but nothing came out, dude. So you've either got a mic issue or you were just too hesitant to actually open your mouth and talk into the mic. Either way, we didn't hear anything when your mic opened. I'm sure dude will sort out his mic in the meantime. We can sit here in great anticipation of him figuring out his audio.
Yeah, I think he's just shy, man. Even though he said he's 67 years old, he seems to be shy and afraid that
Just
somebody's gonna yell at him. But I'm sure
nobody's
you
gonna
again,
yell
bro.
at you.
Nobody's gonna yell at you.
Oh, you can't give that guarantee. If something we say troubles him and he starts chanting through the top of him, he might get yelled at for being insolent, rude. You know, typically no one's intent is to yell at anybody here. That's the last thing I want. It's stressful. But if you're trying to explain something complex to somebody and then they start interrupting you in the middle of a complex explanation, so you start it again and then they hear it or don't and then start on a different subject, again, you do that 10 times and eventually you're going to get irritated on the 10th attempt to repeat something that's been ignored, non sequitured away from. That's irritating. So you can't say, well, we definitely won't shout at you. What, is he giving us a guarantee he's not going to rinse and repeat something that's been addressed and refuted? No, he's not giving us any guarantee. So, you know, he's right to be scared. He might get shouted at because he might need to do those things in order to defend his belief, mightn't he? In which case, well, yeah, you're going to get shot down quickly.
Well, you gotta have a little thick skin to be in here. Just come off mute
Do you?
and give us your information.
Why do you need thick skin?
Well, if you're gonna get offended if people raise their voice, then you're in the wrong place, my friend.
You're at the end of the journey when you say about having thick skin. No, as I just detailed, there's no reason why any discussion here should descend to anything other than somebody putting a claim forward, us listening, and then challenging it based on what we know. And the opponent listening to the challenge and either refuting the challenge, challenging it in some way, in other words, or accepting it and moving on. Now, if those things don't happen, then there's a problem, isn't there? Well, that's not something I'm intending to cause when I explain something that I've learnt. Far from it. But they don't want to hear it. So that could be a problem. Not for me. I don't want to get shouty with anybody. I want to tell them how it is. That's it. Listen to their claim. They might change my mind based on their claim. And if we can demonstrate to them, which we often do, that we have listened to their claim, listened well enough so that we can paraphrase it back to them and get their acceptance that we have listened and understood it, then we take it apart, and halfway through, as I say, the taking it apart bit, we get chanted through, interrupted, shouted down, called idiots, taken to a different subject. You know, those things are not going to be tolerated. So, you know, that will annoy me. I'm just being honest.
Hold on. Did I hear you say he might change your mind? Nathan, let me explain something to you. Maybe you haven't heard, but Earth is measured flat.
Not him. Anybody. Anybody might come in and suggest something that's interesting. Right, well, Brian's an example of that. Frequently comes in with things that I hadn't considered. And then it takes about 2 or 3 weeks for me to actually recognise what he's saying and then take credit for it myself. You know, but the point is that anybody can come in and suggest something that I was unaware of and convince me that it was worthy of listening to and should change my point of view in some respect. Well, anybody can do that.
Oh, so you're not talking specifically a global coming in with globe proof. You're talking he might have something that he says that registers. Okay, I got you.
and vice versa. But it's when the reciprocation of what we offer them is not even challenged, just hand waved. That's annoying. It's like, okay, you don't want to listen to what we've got to say in challenge to your claims and your beliefs. You just want to state them and then have us shut our mouths and accept them and nod so you can get on with your day without pain. And should we attempt to challenge them and refute them, you're going to stop us in the middle of us doing it. Maybe cry foul when we stop them doing that. No, he's got a mute button. When I'm attempting to overcome something you've put to me and we've graciously listened to, patiently, you starting to talk in the middle of me refuting it because it's very painful and difficult to listen to for you, and having to be shut up by often not me, a moderator in the Discord server, that wants the rest of the participants to be able to hear what's being said, but unfortunately that's being stopped by some zealot that's decided to chant through a response that he's getting or she's getting. Well, that will be used against me, like it's unreasonable to actually be able to get to the end of a refutation of something that's been put to me. No, that's obviously me with my mute button. They'll find any excuse to not have to endure a refutation of their claim, a refutation of their claim. They don't want to endure that. It's easier to say, Nathan's got a mute button. Okay, fine. They can accept that. Or, in this case, Nathan's going to shout at me. Am I? Why would you assume that? Have you given me an example of why that would occur? I mean, it's often the case that you're getting interrupted because someone can't wait for their turn to talk and just assumes that it's a delay that they've got being caused. But nevertheless, even though I'm not done talking, there's often a case that somebody's suggesting that we get angry with them, doesn't give any examples. So, well, where's your example? Oh, here it is. Oh, do you hear me counting off that it's the 10th time I've put this to him? And then I'm shouting at him. Maybe you ignored that particular part where your identification of something that's irritated me greatly after repeating the same thing 10 times is me shouting. No, that's somebody being a zealot 10 times, and that's irritating, obviously. Oh, but that's my fault. No, it isn't. Don't be irritating. You won't irritate people. Now I'm done, Neil.
Nathan, are you annoyed that people claim that you yell at them? Why are you letting that bother you?
I'm not. I'm suggesting that there's an argument to take apart, and we'll listen to people's position, and then offer them a response. Should they interrupt it, that's going to be irritating. Therefore, it might get them shouted at. That's my point.
Well, let's look at the people that claim you shout at them. It's people that don't listen, like you said. Now, this guy has said, if I heard Mush correctly, that we're denying thousands of years of science. Well, you want to explain that to me?
Well, straight off the cuff, that could be perceived as irritating if you're not being offered examples. There's just some chat skank who's now in voice chat, scared to talk to us for whatever reason, excuse, saying that we've denied some science. Now, you've already said, before he's even opened his mouth, that's a category error. But he's tarred us with a brush already, telling us we've denied something. Have I? Is he going to put it in quotes? Is he going to show where I very specifically denied the thing he said I've denied? No, he's not. His opener is to poison the well. Suggest that I've denied something I haven't denied. Nothing's been offered by him, but he's telling me what I've denied. He's never even spoken to me. Well, yeah, he's right to assume he's probably going to get shouted at, because I already know the cut of his jib, don't I? He's telling me what I've denied. Dude, do you want to put in quotes where I've denied some science? Verbatim quote, please. Because you might get shouted at for that, if you haven't got it, because it makes you a scumbag glurf liar claiming I've denied something when you haven't got a quote. Now, we already know you won't have a quote because it's a category area you want to caught me in, but you're suggesting I've denied science. Yeah, you're right to be in fear of me. Yes, you may very well get shouted at me by me, dude, because you seem disingenuous before you've even opened your mouth. Yeah, be afraid. You know why, presumably, too, don't you? Because before you've even opened your trap, you're poisoning the well with what we've denied. Yeah? Am I telling my audience what dude has denied? No, I don't bleeding know him, do I? But he's perfectly content to tell what we've denied without quotes. Of course he is, because he's a glurf. Oh, well, I might get shouted at. Yeah, you might, because you're a glurf. Therefore deserving of being taken down a peg or two for your scumbaggery, in this case, claiming we've denied something without quotes. Yeah? Now, he's still sat in the voice chat. He can hear me. Now, is he going to get quotes? Is he typing it out as we speak? Of course he isn't. That's why he's worried about getting shouted at. He knows how disingenuous he is before he's even spoke. So he's going, given that I'm a disingenuous scumbag poisoning the well, telling you what you've denied, I might get shouted at. Yes, you might, dude. But you could blame the mute button and say that you didn't want to open your trap because you might get shut up or shouted at. Yeah, you could do that. But the reality is, as we all well know, you are scared. Not scared of me. Scared of me taking apart your faith. That's what you're really scared of. Not whether or not you'll get shouted at.
In
Let's
relation
just
to
hope he plays another victim card.
Sorry,
Play it, I don't care. Right, he's got an argument, hasn't he, that we've denied all the science. I've asked him for quotes. We're going to get a victim status update from him, rather than the quote about where I've denied some science he says I've denied. Doesn't even need to talk to get shouted at, does he? Based on the information I've been given already, I already know he's a disingenuous scumbag glurf who's prepared to lie about us. That's what I've already gleaned without him even talking. Hello? Do you want to tell me I'm wrong, dude? You're still in the voice chat.
His mic don't work.
Yeah, that's that he tried to say hi and it was shouted at for his mic. Man. Also, there's another
How he got voice
believing member.
verified.
He got voice verified, so we
him.
know his mic works then, because he got voice verified by a person, a human that checked he's got his audio sorted. Now, shockingly, now, I just can't seem to get it to work. So he's also incompetent. So I'm not done. So he's also incompetent then. Yeah? So we know he's disingenuous, we know he's a glurf, scummy liar, and prepared to put words in our mouth without quotes, and we know he's incompetent. Why do you think we'd want to talk to you, dude? Yeah? Do you understand? We already assessed your cut of your jib, and it's not really proven to be very shiny.
Hopefully,
he told us the other day that he came here so he could
how it's done.
get flat Earth information so he could write a book for his son.
He wants to what? Say that again.
I said he told us the other day that he came here to get flat Earth information so he could write a book for his son.
You think he'd want to talk to us rather than tell us what we've denied without quotes? You're going to write that in your book? I went to a flat Earth server and told them what they'd denied, even though I'd never spoken to any of them and didn't give any quotes. I just made it up. Write that in your book, dude. I managed to make up a load of crap that Flurfs hadn't said and put it to them like they were denying something that was in a category error because you didn't understand what science was. Write that down and give it to your son so he knows how stupid you are.
Is he taking notes from Danny Faulkner, maybe?
Hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, guys.
Bonjour.
Bonjour? Where do you think you are?
Anywhere but here.
Got a couple of videos to cover today. So shout out to 10th Man, who sent me a video of I think it's an ex-astronaut. Maybe it's a cosmonaut. I don't know. I'll have to check. I'm completely fresh to it, so we'll be doing a green response. But as is always the case with 10th Man's suggestion, they tend to work out very well. But we've also got another one from, was it Sensual Goat or was it you, Mush, that provided the other one? Flat Earth Theory Debunked with Science.
Yeah. You always get us two mixed up and we're nothing alike, mate.
I know. It's the names. They get, Sensual Goat, Mighty Mush. They're kind of,
Nothing
Really?
alike.
Kind of nothing alike, but sound
exactly.
the same to me. It's all good. Should we do a couple of housekeeping questions though in the meantime? Everyone keen? Everyone warmed up from the pre-show?
Run it.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
What do you mean presupposed?
I mean, you've got to beg the question of an antipodal position system that's derived from flat Earth measurements to then have an explanation within that explanation of a molten iron core producing the magnetic field lines that we do experience. You've got to assume
You mean
the
that
globe.
place where?
Go ahead.
You mean that place where they go to take angles from?
Yeah. I mean, no, because no one's going into hell to take angle measurements. You've got to transpose the angle measurements off a curved surface that won't give you an angle into hell to make it work at the equatorial plane, so it matches up with the plane that you measure versus a plane that you haven't got the measurement from on the curved surface. Yeah, that requires transposition and a lot of justification for a process that doesn't actually require that to be done. It's completely surplus to the requirements of calculations after measuring the Earth flat with elevation angles. But there we go. No one's in hell.
And molten iron is too hot to create a magnetic field. So
Yeah, it's beyond the Curie point. It does kind of beg the question that we've got one to discuss how the one that we haven't got wouldn't work. But nevertheless, the assumption of a spherical core that's been increased in size to work with the current timeline, with a backstory of another planet called Theia smashing into it, a glancing blow, depositing its molten iron core, and the leftover combined planetary debris is coalescing around Earth to form the moon. That's their story, because they made it up themselves.
Wow.
Speaking of the assumption, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
You're gonna need a flat Earth for that.
You will. You get that measurement from measuring a flat Earth. That's correct, Neil.
Yeah, but Nathan, everything is gonna change when they go to Antarctica.
Oh, here we go. Speaking of which, I crapped out a video that took me about 25 minutes to do because we've already covered this subject, right? We've done plenty of live streams that cover the final quote-unquote experiment, which it's not. It's fraud. Well, because we've covered it so many times, I just had to go back to the most recent coverage of that because I've covered the same thing every time I've discussed it. The antipodal assumption, the begging the question fallacy, and the false dichotomy that they are utilising when they say they're going to go down. What, down to the bottom of a ball you're already assuming you're on? Well, you're going to need to dress that up in an affirming the consequent. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. If I assume Earth's a ball, I'll travel to the bottom of it, and then Q, observe 24-hour sun. Q, I have observed 24-hour sun. Therefore P, I'm on a ball that I assumed when I travelled down and assumed I was on the bottom of it and started looking at the sun and that. Yeah, that would also be worthy of masking with a false dichotomy. But I've got your flat Earth model to put next to it so you don't notice I'm automatically assuming the Earth's a globe on the other side of the false dichotomy. Now, as I say, I managed to crap out a video about that in 25 minutes. What Will Duffy did was went through 10 years of back material to find one instance when I first got here about 9 years ago, saying, look, there's an ice wall. Oh, it'd be cool to go there. Me with long hair, looking like I'm about 12 years old, with no acoustic treatment, crap camera, crap mic. One of the very earliest videos I've made. So he's gone all the way back through 10 years of material to find one little clip to justify asking if I'm going to go. To what? Help you commit fraud? You're assuming antipodal positioning to beg the question of a sphere Earth you're claiming to be proving when you look at something that isn't the Earth, and then suggest that the observation that isn't the Earth proves the assumption that Earth's a sphere because you travelled to the bottom of it before you did a damn thing. No, I'm not going to help Will Duffy in his fraud. Definitely not. But thanks for going back through 10 years of material, Duffy, to go and find your little tidbit there. Maybe you could contact 2015 Nathan and see if he gives a crap. So check out my video. It was very easy to put together. It didn't require me trawling through any of Will Duffy's material. In fact, I don't think I've ever been to his channel. Meanwhile, you've got an antipodal assumption that needs justification. Now, as a result of him offering a trip to Antarctica based on a sponsor paying up the money to take me there, yeah, if I was in a position to absolutely despise my opponent because they were right, I'd maybe want to send them to Antarctica too, lads. Shocking. You want to send me to the, what, bottom of a ball that I'm going to assume alongside Jaren in this fraud? No, but I have now called the guy inviting me a fraud. So given that maybe I haven't actually turned him down officially, I've just called him a fraud, maybe you can address that. I mean, there's 30k on the line from a sponsor, apparently. So perhaps Will Duffy can address my claims of fraud. Not an experiment. Potentially going to observe a phenomena and then utilise antipodal begging the question assumptions to suggest that Antarctica's on the bottom of a ball, but you won't notice if I stack it up against a azimuthal equidistant projection. That's fraud! But now there's 30k involved with my name next to it. So you better damn well address that fraud. Right, Duffy? Will I help you in your fraud? Well, we'll see. Maybe you'll address it, maybe you won't. I couldn't give a crap. I already know the fallacies that are being used. I've discussed them half a dozen times on different streams. Has he addressed a single one of them? No, he's gone back through 10 years of back catalogue to find a little clip where I go, wouldn't it be cool to go to Antarctica when I'm looking at pictures of Antarctica? Yeah, maybe 2015. Non-dad, non-married Nathan. Maybe I was married, I can't quite remember. I should know how long I've been married. But that guy, maybe he, with his hair, did want to go to Antarctica. Meanwhile, 2024, Nathan's calling you a fraud. I'm sure your sponsor would want that addressing. Check out my video. It's called Will Duffy Get Nathan's Help in Committing Fraud? That's the name of the video. And we've got a couple more to cover today. Fun, fun, fun. It's going to be a ramma-jamma ding-dong fun-packed show today because we're going to be covering this, which is... I should actually have the videographer out. Jack Gordon is the name of the YouTube channel, so we'll stick a share in the YouTube live stream chat. If you are watching this live, or indeed if you're watching after the fact and the live stream chat has been rendered, then toddle along to Jack Gordon's channel and just let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite, non-swearing, non-abusive comment that won't hopefully therefore get removed. And just let him know we've responded to his video. I don't know if it's going to be positive. It might be that we absolutely love the material and therefore want to absolutely endorse subscribing to this gentleman. I don't know. Like I say, we're responding to this completely green. So I don't know if anybody else has watched this video. No, Nathan, we don't know what it is either. Well, we're all going to be green, aren't we? We're all fresh and none of us know how it's going to go. But we will see.
Hello everyone, I'm astronaut Charlie Duke. I was lunar module pilot on Apollo 16 in 1972.
Oh, well, it didn't take long for me to be able to pause the video and call this grinning old man a liar. You're claiming that you've been on a surface of a moon that would involve a journey through a violation of natural law sky vacuum. So you're a liar. What you're now going to do on camera for your audience is lie to them.
Okay, let me take a picture for you, Charlie. Where at? How much? That's okay.
Why do they need these spacesuits? Is it so that the high-pressure gas they're breathing contained in these packs, apparently? I mean, I'm pretty sure these are costumes on a soundstage, but nevertheless, we won't get into that. Let's pretend that they're real. And in the narrative, they need to keep the high-pressure gas inside the spacesuit. Okay. But aren't they also claiming to look back at a blue marble that's got high-pressure gas with clouds in it, not dispersing into a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum that you just travelled through? Well, that would be a violation of the second law of thermodynamics now, wouldn't it? You know, if your gas would expand out of that suit if you didn't have it, so would the gas on Earth that you're claiming to take pictures of. But we already know that this area you're claiming to be in these grainy, crappy pictures isn't real. It's Narnia by equivalence. So you saying you've been through the wardrobe, that's a sky vacuum. to go and talk to Aslan on the moon is a complete fabrication. It's a lie. And this man damn well knows it.
12 people in human history have walked on the moon, and
no men have ever walked on the moon. You can't walk on a rock that's a light in the sky. There aren't rocks in the sky. The sky is not a vacuum. If this man that you believe, because you're gullible, travelled through a sky vacuum, then the gas we are all breathing could also travel into the same area the rocket went into. And that's exactly what gas would do. It's a law of nature, the second law of thermodynamics, gas dispersion. This is one of the few times, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, we can actually call people liars.
only 4 are alive today. He's the youngest. And this is a moon landing denier that Charlie's about to react to for the first time.
Oh, right. We'll definitely let this guy know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Because we're going to have some garbage strawman offered up from some completely incompetent potential moon landing denier, where I use a law of nature to debunk the journey. He didn't travel through the high-pressure gas and then wave goodbye to it to take pictures of it, where he would need a suit to stop the same thing happening to him. That makes him an outright liar. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Because I've spent the last week hearing out every theory about why the moon landings are fake.
Do you believe in the moon landings?
No. No.
I don't really believe in that.
They could be real, they could not.
With 18% of people thinking it's fake.
There's a race between America and Russia, so like...
Sorry, this is an appeal to consensus fallacy. I couldn't give a crap if every single person except me thought it was true. It wouldn't alter the second law of thermodynamics violation gas behaviour that would dissipate into the area they're claiming to travel through in a rocket. Doesn't matter if every person on the flat plane we dwell atop didn't know that. I do. This is an appeal to consensus fallacy. It's pathetic.
They kind of faked it.
It's cap.
He's fake.
No, I don't. They could have been AI, nobody knows.
And some conspiracy theorists feeling really strongly about it.
Check out the Joe Rogan podcast for anybody that's got the video of when their feet are like in the air. It's like, come on, man.
Charlie's going to...
So the argument that's been offered within the first minute of the video is, look at the video on Joe Rogan, they've got their feet in the air. Is that the consistency of the argument so far that's been presented? This is your lead. This is your hook. Oh, right. I don't think this old Todger's going to be particularly fazed by a man saying, it's fake because the pictures look fake. That's not a very strong argument. Unlike the strength of gas pressure expanding into a high vacuum where he's claimed to have travelled, because we'd all be dead, making him an outright liar. Whether or not that'll be put to him ever, I don't know. But I'm sure he'll cope quite happily with Joe Rogan's look, there's feet in the air.
To debunk the 4 most common conspiracy theories today. But first, let's hear how he actually became an astronaut.
Who wants to bet that second law of thermodynamics won't appear on this list? Anybody?
£5.
£5?
I'll take that bet, yeah. Dollars to donuts.
Dollars to donuts, there won't be the gas we're breathing would fill the available volume that he's claimed to travel through as one of these most popular conspiracy arguments. Poisoning the well fallacy.
September of 65, there was an article in the LA Times said NASA's looking for another group of astronauts, so I applied and got selected.
Who gives a crap? You're a lying old sod. I don't give a crap about how you got recruited. Prove you went to space. Because this is completely devoid of any fascination for me. The subject on the table is, did you go to a sky vacuum in violation of natural law or not?
And we reported in April of 66. There were 19 of us.
Charlie started as a member of the Air Force, and...
Who cares? Did he go to space or not? I don't need his resume. The behavioural
like
panel
reverse...
described... Go on.
Right, it's like reverse poisoning of the well now. They're like building up his credibility just to, you know...
You drop and rejoin, Duncan. You sound like you're underwater, mate. Can you just drop and rejoin?
After applying and getting interviewed by the first...
Go ahead.
Sorry, if he's in the Air Force before becoming a quote-unquote astronaut, then he's already knows and he utilised Earth as a flat plane of reference.
Yeah, he's maintaining his altitude above sea level in the Air Force.
first American in space, Alan B. Shepard, he was selected by NASA to be an Apollo astronaut. Pictured here is all 24 people that took part in the Apollo missions.
If any of these guys claim to have been in space, then they're all liars. Dead or not, I don't care. Yes, I'll happily sully their name in death. Because they're liars. Nothing will change that. Go ahead, Duncan.
Mic check.
Yeah, much better.
It's like a reverse poisoning of the well, is what I was saying. They're just building up his credibility before they present their non-evidence.
Yeah, I was going to back that. Behavioural panel have a similar term for this. They call it a resume statement. You're asked about something specific, you're there to argue a particular case. So you get your backstory of how well qualified you are. Don't need it.
There's Charlie, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and everyone else.
No, the ones you listed are all liars.
These men had a very special task.
To lie to the world about travelling through a sky vacuum to a rock that's actually a light in the sky. That was their task.
They would be, and still are, the only people in human history to travel beyond low Earth orbit.
They still
a low Earth orbit, so like going beyond the Roman Catholics' idea of the Earth falling around the sun in this motion that was advanced in terms of Kepler's ideas of it being elliptical. Those mathematics are what this man is claimed to go beyond. No, that's a reification fallacy. You can't go beyond Kepler's elliptical orbital motion. Meanwhile, the gas would fill the space. The space he's claiming to travel through, we wouldn't be living if the sky was a vacuum. Go ahead, D-Rose.
Nothing. I was saying good morning, thumbs up, clapping, whatever you're saying. That's how I show you that I concur. That's all. But good morning, afternoon.
started
whatever.
geology training right away, within a couple of months. And we were picked for Apollo, so if we went to the moon, we were supposed to know what kind of rocks to pick up. So we started just extensive geology training. That from
Still in the resume statement. So if you're going to lie, people find it difficult and mentally exhausting to lie. So what do? You pull on the things that you can tell that are true. This is a man that should be telling us about his experience that's beyond our capabilities of understanding. I can easily envisage you on some earthly surface digging up rocks in training. Don't care.
For me, lasted for 6 years until I flew to the moon.
You didn't fly to the moon. You're a lying old sod. Yeah? Now you're a liar and I can just call you one. Before you flew to the moon, you did not. That would involve a defiance of entropy law, second law of thermodynamics, gas dispersion. We wouldn't have any gas to breathe if you had went to the moon. You're a liar.
Oh.
I know why 10th gave me this. He knew it would irritate me in the way it has. Shout out to you, 10th. You knew the reaction you were going to get. This is it. They're liars. There's no other way to describe it. Should we pause here for a minute to discuss that fact? Shout out to Goldie, who gifted a membership. Shout out to Random Hero, who picked it up. No? Nobody wants to discuss it further? Okay, we'll just carry on then.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Oh, no problem, man. My pleasure.
Christian
Bluff
is our first moon landing denier, presenting the first theory for Charlie to debunk.
No crap. Needed to get this up to ad revenue standards to due in length. What's going on? Do we need this fluff? We know he's the first guy. He's the first guy. What's he got to offer?
How much fuel exactly? This is a new one for me. Like, some engineer did the math, and they're like, it just doesn't add up. They should have a lot more fuel.
Should they? So the calculations for the necessity to have fuel when travelling through an area that isn't real, this is comparison to how many packed lunches did they take through the wardrobe. Some mathematicians have said that they didn't have enough carbohydrates to sustain their body temperature in the snow in Narnia. Is it true that they didn't have enough packed lunches when they went through the wardrobe? Yeah, the fuel quantity that is required to travel to a distance that's an extrapolation from the mathematics of the church. Where do you think you get the values for the claimed distance and therefore claimed requirements of fuel, they control all of it. They've scaled the distance with Huygens and Kepler. It's their values. They say how far it is. Well, how far something is would require travelling to it. And that journey involves violating the second law of thermodynamics. But let's focus on whether or not rockets will work in space and how much fuel they'll use. Yeah? Very easily overcome by a lying old codger, which is precisely what we'll watch now.
If they're going to go all the way to the moon in that big hunky chunk, it just doesn't have.
All the way to the moon is a value in a fantasy journey that's been derived from the Keplerian orbital motion mathematics scaled by Huygens. They control the values. Where did they get the values from? Oh, they needed an R value to start that process of a spherical Earth in orbital motion around the sun to give us our distances scaled by Huygens. But he'd need an R value. I wonder where he got that. Oh, he'll have got it by measuring Earth flat. Like all of Earth's measurements that turn into spheres.
That up. They should have way more fuel.
Okay.
The fuel budget, we had limited fuel. You had enough fuel to go into lunar orbit.
No, you didn't go into lunar orbit, you lying old sod. Yeah, orbits is a maths that came from the church. You didn't enter into a mathematical reification and travel to a place that doesn't exist, mate. You weren't in Narnia. Nobody went through the wardrobe. Nobody traversed high-pressure gas into a vacuum. You're just a liar. God, this is an outrage.
To slow down. Going to the moon, you don't burn any fuel.
This, I think, is one of the most commonly misunderstood parts about space travel in general.
No, we're not misunderstanding anything. There isn't any space travel. There's no journeys through sky vacuums. So you can look back at high-pressure gas on a blue marble not expanding into a vacuum. You're just naive.
Probably the reason it seems so impossible that we'd be able to go to the moon in the first place.
No, you can't. You can't travel to a rock in the sky. There aren't rocks in the sky. There's lights. And the claimed journey is involving a traversing of a vacuum. We'd all be dead. The gas we're breathing would fill the space.
It seems so high-tech to be able to take a rocket all the way to the moon when airplanes have to refuel at every airport. But what people fail to realize is that once you start going in space...
Once you're in Narnia, the sandwiches last 10 times longer. It's not like sandwiches work the same here as they do beyond the wardrobe in Narnia. One sandwich works with their very distorted version of time. They think they're getting older. But they're not. That's why they're young when they come back. But that ultimately means that a sandwich, the fuel they're burning in Narnia, goes a lot further than you might expect here on the ground. Like when the aeroplane pilots are eating their packed lunches.
You don't stop. There's no air resistance because there's no air. If I threw...
So there's no air? What are you breathing? So there's no air where this story took place... But they need to breathe, don't they? So let me get it straight. We're breathing air, and the area that they're claiming this story takes place in, there isn't any. Well, surely the air that we're breathing would just vacate from the area that it's in currently and go into that area that they're claiming to travel in. It's not like the wardrobe doors are airtight. You know what I mean?
Threw a tennis ball at the moon from space. It would just keep going unless it hit something.
No, that's Keplerian orbital motions that you're describing. Yeah?
And that's actually what gas would do.
Yes, that's what the gas would do. Good point. Shit, slipped me by. Well done. Glad you're here. Yeah, that's what the gas would do. See this? What's this? This is a cloud. Right? Formed from water vapour and other gases surrounding the blue marble. What's this claimed to be? Is this claimed to be a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum? I mean, I'm pretty certain that all of the gas on this blue marble would just immediately dissipate into the vacuum if it were real. But of course, this is claimed to be a picture taken from a man in a spacesuit holding a camera. Now, the spacesuit's needed to heap his gas in, but obviously Earth doesn't need anything like that. The gas can just... It literally exists right next to a vacuum in this picture. It's complete horse crap.
until it
My granddad
got
tells
there.
me of
So
friends of his that he goes to visit in an old people's home, and they have dreams and hallucinations that they reify into reality. And this gentleman, unfortunately, reminds me of that.
It's worse than that with the old astronaut, though. He's just been lying through his back teeth his entire life.
as soon as the rocket is going fast enough, it can just point itself at the moon and it won't stop until the pilots turn on their anti-thrust to...
Do gas particles have anti-thrust? How do the gas particles stop doing that? I mean, they're travelling in a high rate of speed in a given vector until they collide with something. So they get all the way to the top. They're at the Kármán line. There's a rocket right next to them. Do they just turn on their anti-thrusters? Do the gas particles do that? Or do they obey laws of nature in their behaviour? That is to say, they continue in whatever vector they're travelling until something impedes them. I'm pretty sure it's the latter. So, as I keep pointing out, there are no anti-thrusters on gas. Gas must be contained for it to develop pressure. If the sky was a vacuum, we wouldn't have anything to breathe. But now we're going to enter into that Narnia-like area of a sky vacuum to continue this story, no doubt, with a lying old sod to tell it.
Slow them down once they've reached their destination. That's just how traveling in space works.
When you get to the moon, you're going...
Like travelling in space, like gas does. There's gas all around you travelling in space. There's nothing but space around it for it to travel through. They're unbonded. They're not connected to each other. All they do is bounce around off anything that they've got to collide with or each other, and that's all they do. So, where is this area that this guy's about to tell us again? Yeah, it's beyond the wardrobe. It's in Narnia. It doesn't exist, but he's about to lie through his back teeth about having gone there.
Going probably 6,000 miles an hour, thereabouts, and you have to slow... But
no, he didn't go 6,000 miles an hour. This is all lies. You're a liar.
That's too fast to go into orbit, and that trajectory would design...
You don't go into orbit. You can't go into reified church mathematics.
Because you had only limited fuel in the service module. They shot you out in front of the Earth, and it took you 72 hours to get there.
Like the gas would all do. Amazing, isn't it? It's like you can show a journey that goes out without any impedance. They're not going through a hatch. They just leave the surface and go straight to the moon, through the vacuum, like all the gas would do.
If they just fired you right towards the moon, you got there in 12 hours. But you're going so fast, you can't...
Did he say you'd get there in 12 hours? Past future tense. I've forgotten if that's the correct term. But you wouldn't use that tense if you'd actually done it.
Out in front of the Earth. And
this is what an individual gas particle would do, ladies and gentlemen. If the Earth was a sphere, it would come out of the ground... I don't know about this U-turn. But it would bugger off into space. This is what every single gas particle in existence would do. Like they claim rockets can do. I mean, they're claiming that the rocket can do it. But the gas, it just kind of hovers around by the vacuum. No worries. You've all been duped. This man's a liar. This is how you were duped by liars. Just men.
And it took you 72 hours to get there.
It took you 72 hours to get there. Why not it took me? It's supposed to be a story, isn't it? We'll brush past this.
They just fired you right towards the moon. You got there in 12 hours.
They just fired you to the moon. Again, he's talking about how I would experience this. When he was talking about his experience in training, it was about him and how he experienced it as a first-hand account. Now we're moving into how we colloquially would experience this by his description. Notice the subtle difference.
But you're going so fast.
You're going... Shut up, Neil. You're going so fast. No, that is not the context that you would give it if this was true. This is how you have managed to lie about it. It's how you've cognitively processed this. To describe it as the interviewer would experience it. No, you shouldn't be saying that. You can't say, I went 6,000 miles an hour, because you did not. You are a liar, aren't you, old man? You'll go to hell for this. You deceitful old sod.
You don't have enough fuel to slow down.
You don't have enough fuel to slow down. What do you mean I wouldn't have had enough fuel to slow down when I did this? Now, it's very difficult to state outright overt lies to another man. That's very difficult cognitively to do. So what does he do? He repackages it in a story and description of how the interviewer would experience it, how you wouldn't have enough fuel to slow down. Garbage.
So gravity Earth slows you down. Then when you get...
Does it? The bent geodesic in Einstein space-time, second reification. No, Einsteinian mathematics of a invention of a fourth-dimensional geodesic bent space-time as a result of the uneven distribution of mass doesn't slow anything down.
Get started getting it to lunar gravity, you start to accelerate, but you're not going too fast that you can't.
It's still describing it like the interviewer's doing this. Is it the interviewer doing this journey?
Can't slow down with the fuel you have on board. Oh.
You have on board. Did the interviewer have this fuel on board then? He's pointing at the interviewer like it's him doing it. That's because you're a lying old sod, isn't it, old man? Yeah, I'm not going to call you on it. Yeah, I've got no shame in calling you for what you are. A deceitful old sod. You'll soon meet the anti-maker in hell for what you've done, poisoned humanity with deceit about the heavens. You deserve it.
All this was designed, planned out, and then get out of orbit and come home.
The crew aimed the rocket to pass in front of Earth after finishing its orbit, therefore catching a little bit of Earth's gravity.
What? Catching gravity? Do you catch bent geodesics in space-time, do you? You haven't got a clue what you're babbling about, mate. Neither has the astronaut.
And slowing it down. Earth's gravity slowed it down just...
Did it? What, with its bent geodesics? How do bent geodesics slow things down? You want to explain that to me and then show me a fourth dimension, then show me it bending? If you can't, I'm just going to disregard this as utter garbage.
Just enough where when it reached the moon, it...
No one's reached the moon. You've just been duped by liars, men who lie about going to Narnia, a sky vacuum where gas isn't filling, in violation of natural law. You're a sucker.
Wouldn't have to use nearly as much fuel to get itself...
Really is a red herring.
...slow enough where...
This is a red herring.
It would be able to make a safe descent. Unless they did bring a ridiculous amount of fuel, like...
Oh, what, into the sky vacuum that doesn't exist? Unless they did bring extra sandwiches through the wardrobe.
Denier Christian is referencing. But since Christian is right, and they didn't, this was the method NASA scientists spent years developing to allow them to get to the moon on such little fuel.
Because that's what he said. Where's the evidentiary standard to back it? Oh, because you accept what he says.
Christian...
I gotcha. So you're a total globe cook.
Isn't right, of course, that the whole thing was faked.
Unless it isn't right, well, you didn't provide any standards of evidence to actually back the first statement. So, in other words, it's still in ambiguity because you haven't proven it. Yeah, honest of you to declare that. But aren't you supposed to be proving that it did go? The liar.
When you look at that technology, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
It's so insane how many people don't believe in the moon landing. These people fall into the conspiracy theory rabbit hole.
And poisoning the well fallacy. Also a non sequitur fallacy. And an ad hom fallacy. If he's responding to a guy saying that the technology isn't good enough to do it, I mean, I'm not going to argue with that crap argument, but that's still an ad hominem fallacy if you're going to poison the well, tell people how crap they are in terms of their logic. The conspiracy theory, how is that a response to they haven't got the technology?
Social media platforms just continue to serve them what they want. But there
non sequitur
is a site in an app called Ground News, founded by a former NASA engineer,
that I'm partnering with for this video that gathers related articles from thousands of sources around
another appeal to consensus fallacy.
The world in one place to create comprehensive story overviews. Each article...
Oh, this is him getting money from the YouTube algorithm, sending every single view that's searching for Flat Earth to him so he can monetize it effectively and get sponsorship for doing so as he employs a load of fallacies.
Will also Scientism and Ground News, my news source for Sky Full Fiber
off the same vantage plan.
At least there's literally no sources of light outside of what's directly in front of them. Almost like it is a soundstage. You know, the lights are directed directly down on them.
This is an interesting point. When you imagine space, you generally think about...
Why would we be imagining it? I mean, it'd be nice if we had a first-hand account that wasn't described as though it was the interviewer actually experiencing what he experienced, as phrased by the astronaut who said, you would run out of fuel, you would need this amount and that amount. But now we need to imagine space. I can see the stars. It's just not a vacuum. Because the gas I'm breathing would be filling the area if it was a vast area of empty space, 10 to the minus 17 Tor, as is claimed to have been journeyed through by this lying astronaut. But now we're in imagination land, says the narrator. No, I'm not good with that. No, I don't think I'll do
the
that.
stars in the sky, but in the moon landing photos...
Got a backdrop. Yeah, we have. That's a backdrop. See this line? This is a curtain. This is painted. This is near foreground. This is a sound stage. Do you know how I know? Because I painted backdrops. That's what I did at college. Not just painted backdrops, but I painted plenty of backdrops. That's what this is. Comparable to the Wizard of Oz, where if you don't know what you're looking for, it looks like the yellow brick roads going into the distance. But if you know what a backdrop looks like, you know it's painted onto the background. Precisely like the moon landing. How do I know that they would absolutely necessarily need to fake the moon landing on a soundstage? Well, because they're not going to be filming Narnia either. Let's pretend for 1 second that this is a picture of Narnia. Now, do I need to prove that there's a set involved with filming Narnia? No. Narnia's not real. Don't need to disprove there's wardrobe travel. It's on a set. It can only be on a set because we can't travel through sky vacuums. They can only have faked it.
See any. The sky is darker than my heart would be if I found out the moon landings were fake.
A darker, like 10 to the minus 17 Tor vacuum kind of dark. That kind of dark. False comparison fallacy.
Which, luckily, they aren't, but this still doesn't make any sense to me. Here's what Charlie said.
Well, it's not true because the sun's shining. You're on the moon and the brightness of the lunar surface is really overwhelming. So you had 2 sun visors on, and the sun is shining all the time when you're on.
That's an affirming the consequent fallacy. If we travel to the moon via a sky vacuum, then there'll have been light intensity that would require extra precautions with the sky suit visors. We had extra special sky suit visors, therefore we took a trip through a sky vacuum to the moon. This is affirming the consequent fallacy. If sun visors, then moon travel. Visors, therefore moon travel.
On the moon.
It gets a little confusing because the sky doesn't turn blue when it's daytime on the moon like it does here, but that's...
Sorry, no one's been to the moon to confirm this. Yeah? You don't know what would be happening on a place you can't travel to appeal to it.
Just because the moon doesn't have an atmosphere.
An atmo what now? What's an atmo? That means air. Sphere, that's a shape. Does air arbitrarily take the shape of a sphere? Son, maybe you could fart and get it to take a sphere shape for us all. Can you do that, lad? Can you show me a sphere-shaped fart? Like gas taking a sphere shape? Because gas doesn't do that. Gas takes the shape of its containment. It expands in all directions and then only changes vector when it collides with another gas particle or the walls of its containment. Now, if for the sake of argument there was no containment, then the gas would carry on in whatever vector into the area of volume. But you're under the misapprehension that the moon wouldn't have a comparable sphere-shaped air around it? That seems kind of crazy.
The reason we don't see stars during the day on Earth is the same reason we don't see them on the moon. It has nothing to do with the color of the sky. Our sky only appears blue because the molecules that our atmosphere is made out of scatter.
Oh, here we go again. We're going to describe what the molecules of gas that expand at a high rate of speed in all directions to fill the volume that they've got available to them are going to do when you describe them in a term that's oxymoronic. Atmosphere, sphere-shaped air. No, son. No, you seem to be involved in zealotry here.
scatter the white light that is the sun into a blue shade.
When you get to the moon and you go behind...
When who? The interviewer gets to the moon? You telling the interviewer what he'll experience when he gets to the moon? Shouldn't you be telling us what happened to you when you got to the moon? Seems very interesting that you're continuing in this phraseology. It's probably just a tell. Like a way of letting me know that you absolutely know that you're lying, don't you, old man? Or you'd be telling us how you experienced this. But you didn't, did you? So better to tell the interviewer how he would experience it, right? Because then it's just hypothetical, you lying old codger.
And the moon, and the night on the moon, you look out and you can see...
You look out, do you? Did he? Did he, old man? Did he look out? Or did you? I'd be expecting you to tell me how you looked out, but you're not, are you? You can't. It's too difficult cognitively to lie. Overtly. Which is what you'd have to be doing now, wouldn't it? No, you're lying by misdirection about what someone else would do when they experience something you're claiming to have experienced when you lie.
The stars. But if it's day on the moon,
right,
and you're standing there, you look...
Why is it an if statement? When it's day on the moon, I experienced... What did he say? With his stuttery fumbling over his lies and deceit? Cat got your tongue? Bit of cotton mouth? As you paraphrase something you can't detail into a hypothetical that your interviewer is being described to have experienced. Let's hear that again.
And the night on the moon, you look out and you can see the stars. But if it's day on the moon,
right,
and you're standing there...
And you are standing there. Not when it was day on the moon and I saw.
You look up and it's black because there's no atmosphere.
There's no sphere-shaped air, begging the question oxymoronic sphere-shaped air clinging to the outside of the moon, like it did on the blue marble we look back on. No, when you go to the moon, you and your atmosphere will be very different to how I describing it as having experienced. Go on, D.
I just want to say, besides all of the laws of nature, facts that you've been breaking down, this seems redundant, but I'm glad we're doing this. I love the fact that you are exposing and highlighting his phraseology, because that slips by people sometimes, because not one time, he speaks just like the narrator of the video. They, them, you. He never literally ever said we, I. And that's very important when you listen to somebody speak, whether they're being interrogated, whether they're being a witness, anything, when they're telling something that's supposed to be truthful, they're not going to use those terms if they're speaking on behalf of themselves. He's speaking of like a scenario. You know, if you cross the street with your eyes closed, you're going to get hit by a car. Not, I got hit by a car because I was walking across the street with my eyes closed. And that's very, very crucial.
117 people watching live. Please share the show if you've not done so already. The only reason we've got 117 people watching is because the regulars smashed the share button to get you all here. But a very warm welcome if you have just joined us. Please share the show. It's just 2 clicks. You can put this show out on your favourite social media platform, Bebo or MySpace or Facebook or wherever it is you use. So please share the show if you've not done so already. And a massive thank you to all of you who do regularly share the show. That's the only reason we've got 117 people watching.
But it's the sun shining, so you can't see the stars.
So on the dark side of the moon, you can see stars, because...
It's almost like he's talking exactly the same as the astronaut that he's paraphrasing the exact same words for.
It's nighttime there. The bright sun is on the other side of the moon. But where the Apollo astronauts landed, and in any...
They didn't. They're liars.
...part of the journey to the moon... within direct sunlight, it's too bright to see the other stars, and the sky appears black.
Now, with all the evidence from LRO photographs...
So we're now very quickly off him talking about how the interviewer went to the moon and what the interviewer experienced. Now we're talking about LRO. Is that it? Is that it for your first-hand testimony, where you didn't once account for what you saw? Was that it? On to something else that isn't what I've experienced. Very telling.
Taking and seeing the lunar module in a car on the moon.
The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter he's
Oh, I thought he was talking about something else.
referring to here is a robotic spacecraft currently orbiting around the moon that...
No, he was talking about something that wasn't his experience. No, I was right the first time.
...has been orbiting around the moon since 2009.
Nothing's orbiting. It's a reification fallacy. That's why this is a cartoon. Yeah?
It's got 3 cameras attached to it, and it's taken pictures...
No, it hasn't. Nobody's taking pictures of the moon from a sky vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we're breathing would fill the space. You can't participate in reifications of church mathematics. That's not possible. This is all fake.
Pictures of all of the Apollo landing sites from the air since then. But these moon landing deniers aren't gonna buy it, because...
Sorry, you're suggesting that we've got pictures from the sky vacuum of the area they travelled through the sky vacuum to get to. So they're from the air. They're not your pictures. You haven't verified it. We can't take pictures of it from the ground. Nobody can. There isn't a telescope on Earth that can take pictures of the moon landing site. It cannot be verified by you or anyone else here on the ground. But what they've got the telescopes and they went and verified it from the sky. Oh, how lovely. You're so gullible.
These pictures are...
No, we haven't got the magic gold here. But the Munchkins take pictures of the gold in Narnia. Yeah, look, here's my Munchkin pictures. There's the gold.
Still from NASA, and they ignore
You keep
everything.
saying that we won't buy it as well, which is an interesting term of phrase to use.
Buy it, yeah, because we need to be sold on this garbage. If it was just true, there would be no selling involved. Truth is truth. Like measuring elevation angles from a flat plane. It's the truth and it's required for everybody. That's why I can state Earth is flat. Without giving you any ideas of my belief structure. No need. Earth's measured flat. You need it to make your globe reification. To put men in orbits in sky vacuums with. That's how Earth's measured. Notice how there's no pause for thought. There's no need to think about it very much when it's a fact in regards to how Earth's measured. Go ahead, D. Or not. Shout out to Shatner's Bassoon.
Oh, I didn't see
Says,
anything.
get
I'm
this
sorry.
ginger off
I'm
my
sorry.
screen. Just kidding. Go ahead, D.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't take my hand up. I wasn't doing nothing. I was actually typing in the chat. I'm sorry. I just lifted it up.
NASA
early.
tells them.
People are willfully ignorant if they don't believe that we landed on the moon.
Projection.
Yeah, pure projection. So we're ignorant if we don't believe. So evidence is what I would go by, as opposed to your belief in your description of a third party, in this case the interviewer, in what he would experience when you phrased what you should have experienced as what you would experience to the interviewer. You didn't experience this. We know you didn't experience this. But what? This is why you'll be condemned. Yeah? Because what, we should feel guilty for your deceit? Outrageous.
In fact, we talked to some moon landing
May God have mercy on your soul, lying old man.
deniers that were ridiculously extreme.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. We can hear you now.
I can't hear you. I don't know if it was other reference.
We're here to talk about the moon landing, so we'd love
What the hell is this? This is go for the kookiest person you possibly could, right?
to get your thoughts on them if you want to just go for it.
The moon landing is an incredibly fickle fit. My wife.
Oh.
Hello, can you hear us?
Scraping the bottom of the barrel. Only views is sad. Almost 500,000. Of course. For this garbage.
Mike broke.
Oh, your mic broke.
Why don't we just call him?
Hello, this is not the person you were trying to call. You've reached the rejected hotline. Unfortunately, the person who gave you this rejected hotline number...
I can't quite believe this dross gets 500,000 views.
did not want to have their real number. We know this sucks, but don't be too devastated.
In only 4 days.
did have
Say again.
500,000 views in only 4 days.
Every single flat earth search inquiry is aimed at this.
one other point that I had Charlie react to.
And then there's also the spacesuits. Dude, if one of those spacesuits ripped,
Yeah,
you know
but
how
Nathan-
screwed they are?
Yeah.
It's apparent, but is that Apparent as in not actual.
What do you mean?
As in the twist of the figures. No, there's not actually that many people watching it. They're just putting those numbers on so it goes to the top of the algorithm.
No, I think they can direct that many people. I think that's just down to views. The reason I think that's the case, as opposed to just they've made up the numbers, is because there's huge amounts of revenue that's divvied out amongst me and other YouTube videographers based on the advertising revenue, and they will have to account for that. Imagine if you were Nike and you'd paid YouTube for an absolute shed ton of advertising, and it just turned out that YouTube had fudged the figures. Or alternatively, your advert hadn't reached as many people as you would expect it to, and then when you looked at the numbers, they weren't real, and there was no actual impressions, they call them, reaching people to potentially offer your marketing to. So YouTube's primary concern, and this is what the stats are based on, is two things. Watch time, more importantly than anything, and views. How many times has somebody clicked on a video? How long have they watched it for? Why? Because they are, YouTube that is, only concerned with one thing, and one thing only. How long do you, the individual, spend on their website? Could it be more? That's it. That's all they want. YouTube's just a website. All they want you to do is engage with that website for as long as humanly possible. And they can gauge that in statistics. So if they lie about those statistics, they lose all credibility with their advertising. So I don't think that's the case. What I do know is the case is they can direct the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of searches daily for this subject to Dave McKeegan and this guy. So that this dross is what you hear when you hear Flat Earth. If you're interested in the subject, this is what you'll be watching.
It's like 100 degrees different, man. And then they're like all walking around all happy. Like, dude, you should be a little bit scared, man. You should be a little bit nervous.
So his argument is that if the spacesuit ripped, it would be devastating. You should be scared. They're not scared enough, therefore it's not real. Okay, it was almost like he got to the second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, that they claim to have a problem with the suit if it rips, because all the gas they're breathing in the suit would fill the vacuum, leaving them dead. And so would Earth. The gas would fill the vacuum.
It's easy to insulate a spacesuit to keep the sun's heat out, but what?
How do you insulate Earth to keep the gas in? Oh, you don't. You just travel through it in the rocket and no worries, you wave goodbye to high pressure gas and then take pictures of it from the vacuum it's not filling.
The problem in a spacesuit is the body heat. You're in this little refrigerator working like crazy.
I doubt that he's actually
U.S. citizen
operated in any realistic capacity in something that's realistically a spacesuit based on his language again.
Body heat. The body, without the cooling garment we had underneath the suit.
No, now I take that back. Notice his phrasing's changed, D. We had. So he's pooling this from an actual experience. In other words, at some point, he's worn a spacesuit. So now what we experienced, the heat that we had to endure, I bet this is real. I bet he did put a spacesuit on then, mate. This probably isn't a lie.
Seat stroke in about 30 minutes.
Just to expand on that a bit, Nathan, when you experience something amazing, you're not going to describe it like he is. Like, you're going to say, I saw this amazing thing and it looked like this and this is what happened. You know, you're not going to say it like he is. And I know this has been said before, but you know, just think about any amazing experience you've seen and how you would describe it, and you can tell this guy's lying.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I
Don't be able to
recently
shut up.
I recently experienced Aurora Borealis, and I was lucky enough to experience it where I know for a fact that others couldn't. So the phenomena was being described on Facebook. I immediately suggested my wife and I go downstairs to look at it. And the moment I walked outside, notice this is from my perspective, I saw an enormous light show covering the vastness of the sky. It was massive. And with my jaw on the floor, I went to my wife, "Oh my God, look at that!" And she went, "What?" I went, "What do you mean, what?" "That! Look at it, it's enormous!" She went, "I can't see it." Now, I don't know if it's because I'm colourblind, but she couldn't see it. Now, she got bored, took a couple of pictures and went back upstairs. I ran across the forecourt of this apartment block to the street where I saw two women walking across and did the same thing with them. Went, look at that, it's amazing, look, it's huge. And they went, what is? And they couldn't see it. Now, I'd taken pictures of it myself, and you saw it in the pictures, exactly what I could see in the photos. But no one else could see it in that moment. So that's my first-hand testimony. Notice how that differs. It might be similar to his testimony about being in a spacesuit, but it isn't me saying what you would see if you were to look at the aurora would be this amazing light show that would cover your peripheral vision. That's very different, isn't it?
Yeah. Working on the lunar surface. So we had what we call a liquid cool garment that we wore underneath.
There is again weaving truth with lies. So he's described something he did experience with and then intersected that or interweaved that with a description of being on the lunar surface. So he's been very sparing with the addition of that lie, and the major of his discussion here is about something he has experienced, the suit and its operation. Sod the suit. Let's talk about space and your experiences.
The suit, and once you got zipped up, you could turn on a little pump.
So which would you focus on? If you'd been to the moon, not that you can, would you talk endlessly about the suit and how it functioned, or about your experiences from within the suit in an area that doesn't exist? Would you talk about the fur coats and how they operated, and how lovely the fur was and the animals that they came from, and how long the clothing manufacturer took to produce those fur coats, and how well they stood up to the snow? Or would you talk about your first-hand experience talking to a bleeding lion? No, you talk about how well made the coats are, because you probably did have one of the coats. You had a lovely fur coat. You just didn't travel through a wardrobe into a snowy land called Narnia with it. But you definitely experienced a coat, so that's what we'll focus on. And just say the coats that we used in Narnia were very well made.
And it pumped water through these tubes. Body heat kills you, not the sun's heat, because the suit is protected. This is a cover of a spacesuit glove, and it's made so that it's not going to be abraded away and will hold the pressure. We had enough water in our backpack to last 8 to 9 hours. So the whole
probably true
idea was to pick up the body heat through this radiator system that was a pair of a long
My God, this is boring. Pure chaff.
Underwear, and take it to the backpack where there was an instrument back on the backpack called a sublimator.
I'm pretty convinced we had these backpacks. How about you? I'm pretty sure they're real, right? Everyone convinced that they produced these backpacks and spacesuits? Pretty sure we can verify it too.
And you push this water through the sublimator, and it was exposed to vacuum, and it all went off into space.
Ooh, really? How handy that the high pressure within this system could dissipate into the vacuum around you. So you're telling me that you're pressing buttons on your spacesuit and watching gas evacuate whilst taking pictures of a blue marble where it's not doing that? How interesting. Also a way of exposing you as an outright liar.
The water and the heat.
What did you say when you first landed?
Yeah, the water and the heat and all the gas we're breathing would all do the same. It would just vacate the Earth's surface if the sky was a vacuum.
And did it when you first stepped on the moon?
Well, I can tell you what I said when I first landed. It was, "Oh, Orion is finally here, Houston. Fantastic."
You did that on a stage, didn't you, old man? This is the pinnacle of your lies now, isn't it? You didn't do that. You didn't traverse the sky vacuum and land on the moon and say those words. You liar.
You know, the lunar module never had to have a speech when he got it. We were always second out. And so the commander had the little speech. Neil Armstrong had this little speech. And then Buzz Aldrin didn't say anything. He just jumped out. Well, that was my feeling. I just jumped out and started being ecstatic about...
Again, why hesitate? I just jumped out and started being ecstatic. Why the pause?
I'm on the moon. I'm on the moon.
No, you're not. That's why the pause, because you're about to make the biggest lie of the whole bunch.
Jumped out. Well, that was my feeling. I just jumped out and started being ecstatic about, I'm on the moon. I'm on
Yep, that's the lie.
the moon.
Okay, the camera is running. The 16 millimeter is running. Outstanding. Outstanding.
You could see all these major landmarks around, you know.
You could, back to him talking about what the guy who's interviewing him is experiencing. You could see all these landmarks, could you?
It was perfectly clear because there's no atmosphere on the moon, so you had no
No begging the question sphere-shaped air in Narnia.
haze or anything like that. Just all the way to the horizon, all the way around, it was a
That, with the backdrop.
sharp break between the lunar
Sharp break between the curtain and the foreground sand that you put on the stage.
surface and the blackness of space.
Blackness of space would be a vacuum, you'd be dead, we'd be dead, nobody's travelling to the moon. This is a liar.
Things Charlie did on the moon...
He didn't. He just believed his lies.
...are amazing.
No, they're not. He didn't do anything on a moon, he did it on a stage.
But as he was about to leave, he did something fun.
So we were going to do the Moon Olympics.
Oh, here we go. Another little backstory, chaff and redirect away from the actual event. So the actual words that we've had about the event are, I stepped off, pause, I was ecstatic because I was on the moon. That's it. That's the sum total of his description of one of man's claimed to be most highest achievements ever. About 20 words on the subject. The rest of it is about something that's going to now take place on Earth, the spacesuits that are completely inconsequential to what you have experienced, beyond the spacesuits themselves, and that's it. And everything else that's phrased about the journey through a vacuum that doesn't exist is describing how the interviewer would have experienced it.
And we decided we would do the high jump and maybe the broad jump. So anyway, we start to bounce, and my backpack of the life support system weighed as much as I did. So astronauts walked with bent over to keep your center of gravity over your feet. So as I was bouncing, I gave a jump, and when I did, I straightened up.
This is from your experience. This is what you did on the stage. Now he's describing something he did actually go through to produce the material. That's why he's pooling from actual memories now.
Well, my center of gravity went backwards, and over I went.
Wow. Charlie, that ain't any fun, is it?
And that was...
Was what? A complete lie? Drawn from experience on a stage?
Only time in the whole flight I had fear. But fear is not a bad emotion if you don't panic. So I'm going over backwards, and the thought occurred, roll right. And I rolled to the right, and I broke my fall on my right hand and my right leg. Bounced onto my back, and I'm flat on my back, and there's the Earth right up there, and my heart's pounding, but I'm still alive.
No, you're a liar. You're looking back from your position on the moon, staring at a blue marble with high-pressure gas not filling the space. You're a demonstrable liar.
And I looked at my pressure gauge. It said normal. Pumps were pumping, and I said, I think I'm okay. And John Young came over and looked down and says, yeah, that wasn't very smart, Charlie.
That ain't very smart.
I said, I know, John, help me up. And so he helped me up, and my heart was pounding, but I'm still alive. Mission.
Yeah, you are. Alive to tell another lie about being on the moon.
Control has seen this high jump record, but they didn't like it. They said, that's no more Olympics, guys.
Didn't get to do the broad jump?
No, we didn't get to do it. They
What an absolute crock of crap.
canceled the Moon Olympics.
Oh, man.
And I'm thankful they did, because never do anything in space you hadn't practiced down here.
Yeah, there's a tell. Yeah, practice down here, you mean you won't be doing anything in space because it is things you have done down here that you can pull on the experience from when you lie. We know exactly what the game is, mate. You rumbled.
Charlie still had one more moon landing theory to react to.
Why haven't we got to the moon after 1972?
We didn't go in 1972. We didn't go in 1969. We've never been. We can't go. if we could, then the rockets that are claimed to go there would be traversing past high-pressure gas that we're all breathing, waving goodbye to it at the Kármán line, entering a vacuum, and landing on a rock to look back at the gas that didn't fill the space, not filling space.
Doesn't make sense because there are a lot of people, a lot of billionaires, a lot of rich countries, especially here in the Middle East, that are ready to invest to be the second country or the second nation to reach the moon.
You can't reach the moon, you can't traverse the sky vacuum.
The question can be answered very simply. Apollo was so successful
at lying to everybody about reaching the moon
that they canceled the last 3 missions.
That they didn't want to continue lying and having people like you potentially rumble the entire lie. But you're a pretty good liar. You know, it's cognitively difficult for you to phrase it in the first person when you lied about a place you weren't at. But other than that, you're a pretty convincing liar. You convinced this ginger-haired kid.
18, 19, and 20. They wanted to start building the space shuttle.
Back to stuff that isn't involved in the most experience that he's got in the man's greatest achievement that he's there to discuss. Now we're back on the ground discussing nothing related.
And that took all the NASA budget. And they just finished this most successful program, so...
Amazing, yeah. Let's talk about the NASA budget.
Why go back to the moon?
Why bother going back through the wardrobe through Narnia? I mean, we've got plenty of stories of the fur coats already.
Well, the shuttle lasted for 20-something years. It first flew in 81, and it was still flying. And then right after that, they went to the space station to make a science laboratory in Earth orbit.
No, you can't make laboratories in mathematical reifications.
Which was all the nations of the world participated.
Yeah, they're all in on the lie, clearly. Yeah, you're at the pinnacle of it, aren't you? Lying through your back teeth about having been to the moon.
All that took all the money that NASA had. And so that's why it's been 50 years, because all the money went into these other programs.
Was it worth it? The money they gave you? I wonder if I was to sit in front of you and ask you that question, as you're pretty close to the end of your life. Was it worth it? Yeah? As you prepare to meet your maker? What if he's got a big pitchfork and a fiery tail? Will it be worth it then, all the money? Was that comfortable chair worth it?
The best part about all of this is that NASA is finally ready to return to the moon with...
No, they're not. They've been telling you that for the last 50 years.
With the Artemis missions.
Oh, really? So if I was to rattle off a whole bunch of others that haven't made it to the moon, it'd be a shock. It's a non-stop perpetuation of the idea that we're going next year.
People have already been selected to be the ones to return to the moon. Let me know if you want a video interviewing them. And
will they justify the second law of thermodynamics violation trip via the sky vacuum?
This time, the footage they send back won't be grainy black and white.
This trick that they're using is a psychopathic trick. It's called future faking. Let me explain. If you're a psychopath and you want to convince some woman to basically give you all her money, her time, her efforts, her love, what you can do is you can suggest to that person that you're going to give that person children and marry them. Tell them immediately. Now, does that mean that you actually have to book, plan, pay for a wedding? No. No. The euphoria that person experienced was experienced immediately. They immediately got excited about the future prospect of getting married. So therefore it served its purpose. She didn't need to go and get married. She already got excited about it. Job's a good one. Same thing applies here. We're going back to the moon. We are. Wow. That's amazing. Just in the future, right? We're not going today. I'm not getting on board today. I can't go and get a ticket and go to my airport and go now. It's in the future. Oh, I see. How lovely. The euphoria for the future endeavours of going back to the moon will be experienced by all immediately. How delightful. 12 months later. What happened to that going to the moon thing? I can't really remember. Should we go and ask them? What's that? When we're going back to the moon? We're going back to... I'm glad you asked. We're going back next year. Get excited. Woohoo! And so it goes on. It's called future faking. Very cheap, psychopathic trick.
All of this is in preparation for the first human to Mars mission, which is
Ooh, I mean, we can future fake that too. Just throw that future faking in. We're going tomorrow. Definitely going to Mars tomorrow. It's a lie in the sky and a sky vacuum. We're not going to any of these lights. It's garbage.
Currently scheduled for sometime in the 2030s, and it seems like people are itching for it in order to believe it's real. So keep your eyes peeled and get ready, because the next few years are going to be fun.
No, the next few years are going to be future faking your way into believing that we're going to Mars next year, or the year after next, or the year after that, or the year after that, or maybe the year after that. We'll definitely be going the year after that, for sure.
In space.
Which doesn't exist. We're definitely going through the wardrobe to Narnia next year. Everyone excited, by the way? Video's almost at an end. We all excited to go to Narnia next year? I've had the fur coats sewn up. The wardrobe's been powered by the flux capacitor. We are going to be going through the wardrobe and meeting Aslan. Are we all excited? Can we get a cheer? Can we get a little Mexican wave going? Woohoo! We're going to Narnia. We've got the control room set up. It's going to be very official. There's going to be a whole bunch of guys in turtlenecks, all sat at little desks, looking at the wardrobe, waiting for it to get power. And when it reaches the power that it requires, they're all going to cheer. And when we stroll through that wardrobe into the snowy area called Narnia, they'll have a little radio broadcast. Mission accomplished. And they'll all cheer. They'll stand up. It'll be amazing. It's going to happen next year.
I'm proud to be an American. I'll tell you, what a program.
I am proud to be a Narnian here in Narnia. Talking to Aslan. How do you feel, Aslan?
And what a place and what an experience.
What a massive lie. Right, that's it. We're done. We've gone a lot longer than I would normally go on live stream. Covering that. Right, what have you all got to say about that? Because I'm done. That's the end of the video. Should really do another call to action, but I'll do that after you've had a little chit chat. Or not.
Well, I went over there and said, Nathan Oakley sent me, yada yada, and I had some other things to say. Nothing nasty, nothing disrespectful. But I don't know when this video was published. I don't know when this video was recorded. But I hope this is not some type of reifying damage control. Let's rebuttal all of the plethora of flat Earth nonsense that we've been, dealing with. And this is supposed to put another stamp to reify their claim, because it just, to me, it's almost like they're stepping deeper and deeper into the quicksand. And then they're making it even more obvious to the common listener, especially when you break it down like this, because they're redundantly saying the same thing, not proving themselves and just reifying everything that we say that proves they're wrong. And then you put the stamp on it with your, your commentary, breaking it down. So I'm not sure what this was. I'm not sure why this was released. I know they're recruiting this ginger young guy, and he's getting paid for it, yada. But to me, I don't know. It's almost like it doesn't help. It doesn't really help. It sounds like an old man telling a story.
Well, shout out to Jack Gordon for producing the video. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There is a link going by in the live stream chat as we speak. So please do it. If you're actually watching live, there's 125 people currently watching. Just click on the link, drop him a line. I will stay live for a few more minutes, so you're not going to miss anything if you do toddle along, and just leave him a quick comment so that he can hopefully, in future, if he was to respond to our debunking of this man's lies, the old NASA liar, then hopefully he'd make a video response and leave a link to my video. Send some of his audience my way, given that he gets all of the views from Flat Earth searches, where we do not. So hopefully we'd be offered some algorithmic love from Jack. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Link's going by in the live stream chat right now. Anyone else got any comments on this? Thanks to 10th Man, by the way, for sending me that. It's 4 days old, by the way, D.
4 days ago?
4.
Wow.
Just wow.
So it was like one of those, this ought to hold them. This ought to do it. Let's send this one. Damage control. This will seal the deal. They'll have nothing else to say after this.
Shout out to Goldie for gifting another membership, and shout out to OBE Lines, friend of the show, for picking up the free membership. Thank you, Goldie. And thank you for all the lovely comments on my Omi videos. Any more for any more? No? With that, I will say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
Oh, I didn't expect that one coming. We have to go back and wait before we respond. We have to congregate and try to get together a plan. This was like the most obvious thing to just bunt, smack out the park, whatever way. I mean, steal bases and score on this. This was not impressive. And you so eloquently and without any complication stripped it apart for even the common normie to be like, oh, snaps. And that's what I love about the pronouns. You, you, you. And then the only time he spoke about we and he was on Earth.
Or
everything on Earth was we and he.
Yeah, doing things he's experienced. So if he's actually the guy in the suit on the soundstage, he's pulling from that experience, which gives it credibility. Look, here's him saying those things. What, on the soundstage? Yeah, that's how he can pull from that experience. With the suit, yeah, he's describing the suit because he's experienced it. It's not on the moon. As soon as you're in the moon scenario, it's you and what you would experience and how you would see the sun from the moon.
And I don't think
yeah, that was a good catch. I wouldn't have picked up on that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think Nathan has ever really elaborated and stayed on that wave right there, just riding it all the way through. It's always been about second law of thermodynamics, entropy, and this and that, and angles, and that's how we navigate. But you broke down and like you broke down this guy's testimony. And if he was in court and you were countering and you would have destroyed him and made his whole testimony incredible, and he would have been pretty much dismissed, and it would have just filed their whole claim. You never did that before, and it made me listen to him for that, not for what he says he's doing, but the pronouns he was using. And it's a strategy of interview. They've been trained to interview. They know how to answer questions, just like politicians do, just like liars do. Some people slip up. Some people stay consistent. And when you stay consistent like he did, by always saying, well, you would... I'm sorry.
I was going to say, Buzz doesn't stay consistent. He told the 8-year-old girl that we never went, and he wanted to know why. Or some crap like that.
Is that the same guy? Is that the same guy that said it to the 8-year-old?
No, that's Buzz Aldrin.
Thank you. No, I don't think so, yeah. But I get what you're saying. See, that's another thing. When you don't have the same lie together and somebody slips up or somebody kind of gets more dementia.
Yeah, go on, Jin. Or don't. I mean, it's up to you.
Can you just say, can I get a word in, D?
Yes, Jin. Jin's trying to get a word in. Go ahead, Jin.
If I could just get a word in there. I'm trying to... when he changed the pronouns, because he wasn't happy at lying to the public, but he couldn't very well come out and tell us. So he left that anomaly in the way it was being questioned and the pronouns. So when he's...
You're breaking up, Jin. Jin, you're breaking up.
That was him.
Jin, you're breaking up. You're breaking up. Can you drop and rejoin?
What he was saying was interesting too. He was reiterating the point.
Mic check.
There you go.
Yeah, mic check. Sorry about the lagging. I was just trying to say, I think I put it to you lot, when Neil Armstrong was answering the questions in like a reverse pronouns, I think he was trying to whistleblow there because he couldn't very well say he didn't go because obviously they'd threatened him and his family's lives, no doubt. But he was trying to whistleblow. The same thing when they went to the moon itself, supposedly on the lunar surface, and they never mentioned the word Earth. That would be impossible. That was another little sign there. Okay? Try and work between the lines, I do feel. He was trying to whistleblow. Possibly.
That's a good observation. Yeah.
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 Thank you.
And I want to say, when you hear somebody like Jen say threaten their lives, don't think of the most obvious thing you see in a movie, like blow up their car, or found them hanging, or with one of those self-suicide gadgets. It could be just, we'll strip you of your pension. You'll never work again. And that's a threat too. You take somebody's livelihood away, and the wife is like, honey, how are we going to pay for the mortgage? That's just as threatening as somebody being found hung, or allegedly dove off a building. You know what I'm saying? For suicide. That's the point. So he's held to an oath, or else he'll face the repercussions. So to be slick about it, you use those reverse pronouns, like Jen is saying. And then on the other side, if you have any sense of integrity, or for whatever reason, and you have to lie to protect your family and yourself, but you don't want to lie, you'll also know how to do that, just to save your own face and respect for your family. And then you can say to them, well, I never really said I did. See, that's that karma reciprocity. That's how you avoid that karma, by not technically lying, because if you don't say I, we, me during those fabricating moments or experiences and accounts, and you just say you would, and then you would see a dolphin on the moon that had polka dots and spoke to you, not say we saw, I saw. So, I mean, it's a technique. They know how to talk.
Liability is what they're creating there. In some cases, whether Neil Armstrong did that, I don't know. I think he was genuinely trying to tell us, because if you look at the post-mission conference, if you will, and all the reporters there, and what's his name, the British astronomer. I can't remember his name now. He became Patrick Moore. So Patrick Moore asked a question about what he could see of the corona and that. But prior to those questions happening, he looked very sad and dejected. He wasn't a happy-looking man there, because he knew he was going to life for the rest of his life, and it was written across their faces, as Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, okay, that they were going to lie for the rest of their lives. Doesn't sit well with these guys supposedly having honor. So they wanted to try and tell the truth somehow. So they left a trail of anomalies that don't make sense for us to pick up. So that we know that in the photography as well, they left.
Yeah,
they didn't look over the moon. They didn't look over the moon about it, did they?
You broke up. I didn't hear what you said.
They're saying they didn't look over the moon about it.
That's right. That's right. And if you look at the Apollo 10 mission, where Gus Grissom, Chaffee White, and the other third character, they burnt them, they got killed, and they fried inside that 100% oxygen capsule, because they were already whistleblowing. They were whistleblowing then. Gus Grissom was saying that how can we go to the moon if we can't communicate between two buildings? He hung a lemon outside on top, and he was already having meetings with the reporters, talking about his disappointments and the things are sham, and we're not really going to be going there. They took him out, didn't they? In that case, it was clearly murder. Also, but the guy who had the 50-page report, Bering, I think his name was, they killed him and his wife and children in the car across a railway track. Yeah, there's a lot going on that we need to discuss. The murders.
Yep, to say that, yes, they will go to that extreme. I guess once you breach it, and then you don't have any fear of your financial situations, or your situations are okay, and they're not accessible or breachable to try to put them in detriment. So say, okay, let's just disappear them. Let the others know this is the consequences you will face.
Yeah, I think the guy that I was talking about was Thomas Baring, and he'd already reported to Congress and that about the state of the Apollo missions, and he was about to give more devastating truths against NASA and the preparation, and then they killed him. And the funny thing is that the railway that they were on and the actual train that hit them was owned by NASA. NASA owned the track that led from the depot
Get
and
out
the
of
actual
here.
train, apparently.
Get out
That
of
was
here.
quite.
Wow. What a coincidence. What a convenient coincidence.
Yeah, the source of that is coming from his name is Bill Casing, who worked for Rocket. Yeah, Bill Casing. He worked for Rocketdyne. That's where the source is coming from. Bill Casing from his never went interview as well. Okay. Thomas Baring was the guy they killed, and his wife and his daughter and daughter-in-law. I think Thomas Baring's daughter survived, but his wife's daughter-in-law, in the truck. And yeah, NASA owned the train and the track from the depot. So this is all. It's all you can find it. We never went to the.
But if they calculate how much spice they need to travel from Arrakis to Gideon Prime, then Earth is a globe.
Makes sense.
It's in their maths.
We need one of those guys that can roll their eyes in the back of their head to calculate it, but it works.
Yes, okay. What surprised me that there was a black African American woman who did all the maths for the spacewalks, the air pressure within the command module, the capsule. That was all done by a black woman, and she was
Hidden
honored.
numbers. Hidden numbers.
Yeah.
And that was nothing but a demographic reification, or a demographic campaign to keep to retain, or to even obtain more so-called people of color from the United States and abroad to get on board that the lunar landing was real. And how dare you discredit the achievement of two African American women. Let's applaud them for contributing to the United States of America, greatest achievement in the world. That was all a campaign. Now, granted, they might have been mathematicians, but the buck stops there. That's all they did, is throw up a bunch of numbers on a board, and then the rest was all theater.
Hold on, I'm slightly confused.
Stage.
Were Buzz and Neil black women?
Say that again?
Were Buzz and Neil black women? Am I missing something?
No, talking about the women, the movie Hidden Numbers, starring Taraji P. Henson and some other two that played the women who were going through the civil rights moment of gender discrimination and skin color discrimination, working for NASA, and to be able to be the ones that were the mathematicians to calculate the so-called success of this journey, lunar landing.
I see.
And you know what that does? That makes everybody get on board. People have to walk on the eggshells. Same thing scenario I told you about Neil deGrasse, you know. Why every time you always got to discredit when it's a black man? You know what I'm saying? Why he got to be a liar because he's a black man? No, he's just a liar. And yes, those ladies probably were mathematicians that did that, but that's all they did. Just like the guys that was sitting in the screen applauding, who either knew they were watching a CGI or were too dumb to realize that they were watching a CGI and were clapping.
I wouldn't discredit them. I'm in no doubt those two outstanding, hard-working black women achieved their ends in the field that they were employed to achieve those ends in. And they did it aplomb. They did it fantastically. They did it with grace and dignity. So what? Does it prove there's a sky vacuum? No. Does it prove... Just one more thing. Does it prove they were in on the lie? Absolutely not. Now, unlike our NASA astronaut friend, there is absolutely no way I could ever be justified in calling them liars in this regard.
But she purported to solve the three-body problem. She was doing the calculations for the, the landers and everything, and the traveling between three moving bodies.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to calculate that, would they?
The three-body problem is a force of gravity problem. So Einstein replaced that in 1915. So you know what I mean? You need to have a good think about it.
Well, I'm sure they did have a bloody good think about it, Brian. We should commend them for that.
Yeah, well, it's nonsense. The three-body problem is a force of gravity problem, right? That was done away with by Einstein in 1915 when he replaced the claimed force of gravity with general relativity. Now there's a two-body problem because he only deals with one at a time.
I was going to call it a one-body problem, but I suppose you could call it a two-body problem. Yeah, you're only calculating for one thing at a time.
Yeah, they have a two-body problem, but there is no force of attraction, so there is no... That's why you have to come up with... That's one of the reasons you have to come up with the equivalence principle. To explain why your phone falls to the ground. Because it doesn't fall. The ground comes up to meet it from a relativistic point of view. What a lot of rubbish.
The reality is that it ain't nobody's problem because ain't nobody go there.
Yeah, in essence, it's a reification fallacy. Spot on.
Well, no, it's not a problem at all. It's only a problem for people who believe in a force of gravity. It doesn't matter whether they go to the moon or not. It's still only a problem if you believe in a force of gravity. And the two-body problem is only a problem if you believe that gravity then turned into an effect within general relativity. I don't have any problem, and neither do you. None of those problems. None of them problems are ours. We don't have them. Kind of like global warming. That's also not my problem.
It's hilarious how gravity can change from cause to effect at will when you're talking to globers.
Yeah, simultaneously both the cause and the effect, and a force and not a force that you can think of as a force, all at the same time. Amazing. No phenomena.
And it moves up and up and down are the same direction.
that one guy who was talking to me on Omi, he was the black square guy, and he got to him saying, well, gases do go down. They all, comport to the outside edge of a sphere and do your sphere-shaped air thing. And then he starts asking me about the water cycle. I'm like, yeah, it's a cycle. He says, well, in that scenario, the water comes down. I'm like, that's rain. It's like, no, it's H2O. And I'm like, is that gas? He's like, no. I was like, all right, so the rain comes down and the gas goes... And he couldn't say it. He couldn't say up because it stood in violation of his sphere belief. So he couldn't even say it.
He couldn't say that the clouds... Oh, sorry.
He couldn't say that the clouds were above him. He couldn't say that the water vapour's going up to form the clouds so that the rain can come back down in the water cycle he'd just described, because he's trying to use that as an example to prove gravity. When I demonstrate that the gas is going up, and I say, which way is the gas going in your water cycle? Because it's not gas when it's coming back down as rain. He's like, well, there's a phase change. I'm like, okay, so for it to have a phase change, it has to go which direction? But he can't bring himself to say it, because if he utters the word up, gravity's debunked. And at one point, he wanted to even change the subject, onto phase change itself. I'm like, let's get this squared away. You think gravity is pulling things down. It isn't. But he couldn't say it. That's the point.
There is no up or down on the sphere, number one. Number two, water vapor is still H2O. That's a gas.
Yeah, that black square guy was more interesting than some of the others because he knew more. Like, he was talking about tangents. Of course, he was wrong on a lot of things, but it's he was one of the more knowledgeable quotes zealots you were talking to.
Yeah, still just as receptive as all of them, even though he had a reasonable knowledge of heliocentrism.
Like the one with the critical thinking guy who was pretty much had an idea of the high probability of the lie, even though he was, I guess, out of habit. He kept on saying planet. You know the guy I'm talking about. He was from, he said, he was the one that said, I apologize that I can't, my vocabulary is limited by my
Greek
English.
guy.
Yeah. That was a very good one right there.
Release another one shortly. The army guy.
Oh, I like that guy. He had a great reaction, but then it was too much for him and he hung up.
Yeah, he was
Was
like,
that the same guy?
How can space be fake? You're ruining my brain here. So I started explaining it to him with something I'd already gone through. And then he cut me off because he's like contemplating it and it was too much for him.
Yeah, some of these reactions are literally like bursts in flames, head explosion. Like, you would think you told them, here's some pictures here. Yeah, we found your mom's gangbanged by like 8 guys. No, not mother. Well, they really get emotionally disturbed, and it's like you said, it's a belief. It's a belief. So when you make someone's belief and their faith, and you expose it to be a hoax or a farce, it does hurt. You feel like, oh, I've been a fool for this long. So I mean, I empathize, but I guess from my experience, thanks to my dad, I guess I was indifferent, but I knew that they were lying. One thing about the lunar landing, not only because I was biased because my dad told me and I thought he was superhero, of the world and he would never lie, but what he said made sense. And as I grew older and I realized things, that's why I latched on to this FED, because I was like, Dad, why his dad had to pass away? Why couldn't he? Because he died in 2016. And I got right on board with this thing about 2017, 18. It's like, if I could just have him listen to this programs, he'd give me the raised eyebrow like The Rock and be like, told you, son.
Might as well listen to it.
And
Go on.
D-Rose, I think it's it's more than emotion because you find out your girl's cheating on you. That's emotion, but this is Morpheus coming at you with the red pill and forcing it down your throat. And, you know, everything you know is a lie. You know, it's bigger. But you're right, you know.
That's a great example. That's a good example you just used, though. Yeah. Yeah.
I've had my first
And you
negative
can either
response from a
You
flat
can either
earther.
hate Morpheus or thank Morpheus.
So, do you know who Brian Leak is? No?
Sounds familiar, not offhand.
That name sounds familiar.
Anyway, Brian Leak's the first one to have left a negative comment as a flat earther. You have to get them on your team mentally, not get them bracing against you. Oh, thanks, Brian. Thanks for the tips.
Was Morpheus bald-headed in the movie? Ah,
Yes.
Nathan. You're the
Oh,
white Morpheus.
you're the woke Morpheus because you're race swapped.
Woke Morpheus. I like that. Story of Narnia. That's outer space. The spacemen need to keep all the gas they're breathing inside the suit, don't they?
Mm.
Well, because if they didn't have the suit, it would get into the vacuum.
Yeah.
Now imagine you're that spaceman and you're looking back at Earth. And you're looking at clouds and high-pressure gas next to a black area that's a vacuum?
Nah, fuck you.
I love it. I love it.
Like it's
I'd love
soldier.
to appear on a
He's like,
YouTube
get
video
out
then.
of here.
Yeah, sweet. Hello, YouTube.
Want to go
I'm
first?
Soldier.
You're a soldier?
I'm on camp currently.
I'm going to get you in trouble in that regard. I just didn't know if you're
Well,
just not
no,
allowed
not.
to be on Facebook or YouTube if you're serving actively.
Nah, it's all sweet as long as you don't make yourself look a dickhead. That's all it is. I finished school, joined the army straight away.
Okay. You were taught in school a religion that they didn't tell you about. So you were taught something in science class that you thought was science and physics, and it was actually religious education. They just never told you.
Yeah, go on.
Well, are you religious of any, like...
I'm not.
No, fair enough. Well, you are. You're a heliocentrist.
What does that mean?
If I was to tell you that you're on a globe moving around the sun, would that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Right, that's heliocentrism.
Right.
So that came from the Roman Catholic Church and was taught to you in school as physics, but it ain't. It's a religion.
That's mental.
You want to know an example of how you can know it's all nonsense?
Yeah, go on.
You're under the apprehension that there's men in the sky and satellites floating around, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how gas behaves?
Somewhat, yeah. I literally scraped my science, but go on.
Okay. Well, if you had a canister of gas with you now, like butane to fill a lighter or something, and you open the valve, what would happen to the gas inside the canister?
It would leave the canister.
It'd escape into wherever it was, right?
Mm.
Would it go down or would it just fill everywhere?
Everywhere, surely.
Right, it just goes everywhere, right? So, in other words, gas fills space, right?
Mm.
So, if the sky was a vacuum, what do you think would happen to all the gas we're breathing?
Well, bring it up, wouldn't it? It would vacuum up the gas, surely.
So, we wouldn't have any gas to breathe, right?
Oh, this is fucking baffling my head. Hold on. This is spinning my head.
Right, think of a spaceman. So, you've got an idea that the spaceman, right?
Oh my God, look at his face.
Well, what's a spaceman got around him? He's got a spacesuit, right?
Yeah.
Well, the reason he's got in the story of Narnia, that's outer space, the spacemen need to keep all the gas they're breathing inside the suit, don't they?
Mm.
Well, because if they didn't have the suit, it would get into the vacuum.
Yeah.
Now imagine you're that spaceman and you're looking back at Earth. And you're looking at clouds and high-pressure gas next to a black area that's a vacuum?
Nah, fucking, you're teaching me shit now. Hold on.
Space is fake. Doesn't exist. It's all lies. There's no trips to the moon. There's no trips to Mars. There's no rocks that are little twinkling lights. It's all fake.
Yeah, but how can it be fake? That's the thing that's sort of confusing me.
Religion came from the Roman Catholic Church. A guy called Copernicus put the Earth in motion around the sun, And for about a couple of 100 years, they refined that. That was brilliant.
No, sir, that's not what happened.
That was too much to cope with, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was brilliant. That'll definitely make a YouTube clip.
Nathan, you should literally start every one of these conversations with, what if I told you everything you know about reality was a lie? And then that will get their attention. And then
And
we
go
can
get a
meme
fake,
you.
and
We
get a
can meme
fake
you being
red pill and
Morpheus.
a blue pill.
Fake blue
Yeah, we
pill
can
and
make
red pill.
memes of you being Morpheus then.
What if I told you everything you knew was a lie? I quite like it.
Yeah. It's honestly a good opener.
Yeah, it's better than hello, Larry's.
Oh no, you can't compare Nathan to Hannibal. Come on.
No, the way he sounds, when he said hello, hello, hello there, hello.
Well, I might make a few more. So with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.